Hi there, this is Rishabh and I'm back with one more video on Python. So far we have talked about different data containers which are available by default in Python. We talked about a list, we talked about set, we talked about dictionaries, right? And today we are going to talk about another data container which is a tuple. A tuple is basically an immutable data structure, which means that once you have created a tuple, you cannot modify it, uh, unlike a list. So in a list is also a sequence of data, tuple is also a sequence of data, but a list can be modified, meaning it is mutable. But a tuple cannot be modified, which means that it is an immutable data structure. So this can be helpful for data that needs to be protected from accidental modification. And tuples are faster, of course, because they happen to be more efficient in terms of memory and speed. It's like the operations for creating a tuple and manipulating them. They are often faster than the corresponding operations in case of a list. Now they are similar to list, as I mentioned that just like a list, tuple is also a sequence of data. Now tuple support like some similar operations. For example, indexing is possible on tuples, slicing is possible on tuples, iteration is also possible on tuples, but they are different than a list in certain other aspects, like you cannot append anything to a tuple, you cannot extend a tuple, because appending and extending means that you are updating them, and updating is not supported because they are immutable. So creation of tuple, as you can notice the use of parentheses, and so far we have talked about the use of all the different brackets. We have talked about the use of square brackets, we have talked about the use of curly brackets in case of, let's say, dictionaries and sets, and square brackets in case of the list. And this time we are going to use the remaining bracket, which is the parenthesis. So tuple is initialized with the help of parentheses. Now side by side, let's just look at some code examples. So naturals, let's just initialize 1 2 3 4 5, and then let's use the well-known type function. Now if I type naturals, I get that this is a tuple, right? And as we already know by now, that I can also check what all different operations are supported on tuples. So if I do a dir on naturals, let's see what do I get. As you guys can see, I get some count, I get some index, like only two simple functions are there. But yeah, let's talk about certain other things. So let me again type naturals. Yeah, now let's start with indexing. So let's see. So naturals 0, I can do the indexing. Naturals 1, similarly naturals 2. Let's see what happens if I go out of bounds. I get an error, tuple index out of range. So this is very similar to a list. Now let's talk about slicing. What exactly is slicing? I think I forgot to talk about it in case of a list, but yeah, it is the same, just like I'm doing right now. So let's say I want to include only elements up till index number 2. Okay, seems like the low battery signal. Let me plug in the charger side by side. Yeah, done. Okay, so here we go. So I want elements only up till index number 2. As you can see, the 0 and 1th, as we know that indexing starts from 0 only, so this is not included. Up till this they are included, so this is not inclusive. So which means if I say naturals a colon b, a is included, b is not included, but up till b included, right? So let's try another example where we say from index 0 to index, let's say 3. So we get 1 2 3, which means 0 1 and 2 index we get, 3 we do not get, right? So this is called as a way of slicing your tuple. And now let's look at the iteration part. What iteration means is that I can iterate over all the elements which are available in the tuple. So let's say for lm in naturals, now what I can do is print let's say lm star lm, which means I'm taking I'm squaring the element basically, and I can see 1, 4, 9, 16 and 25, meaning that I can perform iteration as well on the tuple. Now let's try to do certain other things. So let me print my naturals once again. Now what happens if I try to do an append in the tuple? Tuple object has no attribute append. That we have anyway verified, right? If we go back and do a dir on naturals, we don't have any such method, right? Similarly, if I try to do naturals.extend, if I try to pass in a list, I'll still get an error that there is no such attribute extend. So meaning that tuples are like list, but they are not list because they are immutable. Creation of tuple we have already seen. Now because they are immutable, they are hashable also, so they can be used as keys in the dictionary. So which means your dictionary keys can be tuples. Let's say we have a dictionary by the name demo here. So let me just initialize a dictionary. Now if we do demo and then I pass in a tuple 1, 2, 3 equals first 3 naturals. Now if I see demo, as you guys can see that a tuple can be used as a key in the dictionary, which is not the case with the list. Tuple with a single element, this is interesting, and this can actually lead you to many different errors at different times, so you have to be very careful. So let's say 1 equals, now this is a valid tuple, so if you will check the type of let's say 1, this is a tuple. So whenever there is like let me also try one more thing. Let's say 1 equals, or maybe 2 equals. Now if you check the type of 2, this is interesting. So here we didn't use the brackets, the parentheses were not used, but still it turns out to be a tuple. So be very careful whenever you are using a comma after a single variable or a single literal actually. Now without the comma, Python will interpret the parenthesis as enclosing mathematical expression rather than creating a tuple. So this comma is important. Then same old typecasting, you can typecast, you can use the typecast operator, you can typecast other things like a list or a string into a tuple, or a set as well into a tuple. So let's look at some examples. So let's say I have a list wherein I'm saying 2 4s or 2 3 4, let's say 5. So this is a list. Now if I say tpl, that is a tuple, and what I have to do is tuple, and then I have to pass lst inside of it as an argument. Now if I see tpl and if I check the type of tpl, it happens to be a tuple. So yeah, so these are some of the functions which are available on the tuple data container, and with this we have covered the 4 important data containers which are available in Python. We have talked about a list, we have talked about a set, we have talked about a dictionary, and now we discussed tuple. So these are the basic data containers. They are very helpful, and in a lot of cases they really help us to build other data structures as well. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about tuples. So yeah, like thanks a lot. I'll see you in a future video. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye bye.